Hey folks, how you doing? This is Nick Kuzmis. We are talking drags on both the baitcaster and the spinning reel, the importance, how to set them up, and what you should be doing or what you should be looking for if you're in the market to purchase one or whatever. So let's get at it. We're going to talk about baitcaster first. So the drag system in the baitcaster is right in between the reel handle and the reel itself. It usually looks like a star. You turn it to the right, it tightens, to the left, it loosens. You can see how easy it is to do. The nice thing about it is why they put it there is just because it's so convenient, right? So if you're fighting a fish, you realize that drag's too tight, you can loosen it off. If you realize it's too loose, you can just tighten it up a little bit and you're good to go. Your hand's always there. You're not trying to reach around the back or anything kind of crazy while you're trying to fight a fish at the same time. One question that comes up often is like, Nick, what pound of drag do I need? I want to use this for flipping. Guys, here's the thing. We're bass fishing out here. We're not ocean fishing. You're not going after, inshore snook and stuff like that can, pull all your line out. Bass don't have that kind of stamina. They might run for 4 or 5 feet, especially largemouth, and then that's kind of it. But still, you're fishing heavy cover. You don't want slip in that drag. So listen, anything over 10 pounds is pretty good. I try to get, if I'm using a pitch and flipping kind of stuff. And so this one here, I'll let you know, this is the Daiwa Tatula SVTW 103. It's a smaller one. I like it. It fits in my hand a little better. This has 11 pounds of drag. I use this for flipping, never have an issue, right? I can bury that drag. When you hear people say bury, that means we're tightening it as much as we can. So I don't go crazy. I just tighten it enough until, I put a little bit of pressure on there until I can't anymore. But you could see now when I try to turn that handle, it's super hard to do that. I mean, I'm really pulling on this. That is perfect, right? The reason why you don't want any slip in your drag, and I understand your close proximity, so you can imagine the pressure that puts by pulling. You're using bigger rods, stiffer rods, bigger lines, all that stuff. But 12, anywhere from really 11 to 13 pounds is fine. Like I said, I use this for flipping. I've never had an issue. Now, part of it is the technique, how you set the hook makes a big difference, right? So what we don't want those snap, I call them snap hook sets. And that's when, you go down and up real quick, right? A lot of guys do that, especially when they're just getting into fishing. I think I got one and then they just wrench on it, right? That is generally not the way you want to set the hook. I call it more of a controlled hook set, right? So, I'm working that bait back. I'm working that bait. Okay, I feel one. I kind of bow down to it a bit. It's there. And then I pull. I turn the handle a couple times. Done. If I feel like that drag's going to slip, for guys that are bigger and they really want to set the hook hard, just like your thumb's already there, just put your thumb right on that line when you set the hook. Any slippage will be avoided in this case. You're not going to have slip and you get that fish. Remember, we're using, like I said, big line, big hooks. You need to get that hook, penetrate that hook on the fish. If you miss it or that hook doesn't penetrate right, chances are he comes up and jumps or pulls himself into the weed and he's gone. So that's it. In any other situation, you're probably using 70 to 80% of the drag, and that's it. Crankbaits, spinnerbaits, jerkbaits, swim baits, anything I can think about that you're using, open water situations, even frogs, because again, you're from a distance. So even though you set that hook hard, it's so far away, now you don't want any slippage again. You want to be able to reel. But like I said, 11 to 13, you're fine. You're not going to have any issues at all with the baitcaster. Some baitcasters come less, actually. They come actually under 10 pounds. And that's fine. Like the smaller ones, like the 70s and the 100 sizes, some of them only have like 8, 9, 10 pounds of drag. That is fine for what you're doing. Jerkbait, small top waters. Again, you're probably using 70, 80% of that drag, and that's it. Now, at the end of the year, you've probably heard this guys talk about you got to back off your drag. You got to back off that drag. When you don't back off your drag, if you have that drag buried, that puts a lot of pressure on the plate. It actually leaves an imprint. So what I do, no matter what, I back off my drag at the end of the day. Now, you might say, well, I've done that and then I forget, and then the first fish I set the hook on, there's nothing there, and it's just a woof, right? I get it. Train yourself to constantly check your drag every time you pick up a rod, because I've had to do that. I'm in rough water. Your reels are bouncing all over the place. Sometimes, it catches the edge of that drag and ends up turning it a bit and loosening the drag. And then on your next cast, you go to set the hook on a fish and it's there's nothing there. So I'm constantly checking that drag. Just pull the line a bit. You feel some good tension. You're good to go. If you do that all the time, you're not going to have any issues, guys. Like I said, 11 to 13 pounds is all you need for a bait caster. You're good to go. All right, bait caster, spinning now. This is where I put a little bit more emphasis on the drag system. I'll tell you this, I don't remember ever buying a bait caster or getting a bait caster, and the first thing in my mind is not the drag, right? It's going to be the gear ratio. It's going to be, well, what is it made out of? Is it aluminum? I want something solid that's going to last me, right? But in spinning gear, the first thing I think about is the drag, because I'm using very light line, in some cases 6-pound test, even in crazy cases up to 4, but say generally 6 to 10 pound test is what I use. A good drag system is going to help you because it's going to take a lot of pressure off that line that could lead to break-offs, all kinds of other issues. Good drag system is important. Now, drag system on the spinning reel is always, it's not always, 80% of the time, 90% of the time it's in the front. Some of them are rear drag. I like that front. I think it's a better system. It's a simpler system. I just find it works better. It's in the front. And again, same thing. Left, tighten, right, loosen, right? And again, you can feel that tension as you're going right here, right? So how do I set the drag on this, really? I was talking to you about the bait casters, like about 70, 80%. You want some tension. The nice way to do it, and you can actually do it with a bait caster too, but I like to put the rod and reel in this hand. I grab the line with this hand, and I bend that rod tip down. So I'm bending it, pulling that, and I just want that drag to come out like that. I don't want it to be any faster. If it comes out like that, it's too fast. Again, I'm not jerking it. All I'm doing is pulling that line just to get that nice. You get it like that, it's fine. Now, the nice thing is, again, if you're fighting a fish that's bigger and you need to tighten it, it's an easy adjust right there on the fly. You got your hand on the rod and reel, just boom, couple turns, done. If you have to loosen it, you can loosen it. Back in the days, we used to have like a back reel switch, not a backlash switch. What was I thinking of? A back reel switch. And this one actually has that. Actually, I just found it today when I was sort of figuring out what I wanted to talk about. I didn't even know it was on. This is a 2-year-old reel. I don't use them. The drag systems today are so good. If you have a really good drag system, like in these Daiwas, this ATD drag, which is called automatic tournament drag, super, super smooth. Again, we're using light line. You don't want to put any more fatigue on that line than you need to. The other tip that's really important is that a lot of young guys, when they're getting into fishing, they just reel. You get a fish and they're reeling, the drag's going out, they don't stop. They just keep reeling. Don't do that. That puts extra strain on the line. You can break off fish. Reel in, pull, reel in, pull. If that drag starts to go out, let the rod and the drag do the work and wear the fish down, not you. You don't want to be turning that. You're putting too much strain on light line. You could end up breaking it, particularly on a big fish. If you just let the rod and the drag do the work, you're going to be fine. Guys, that's my tips on drag. I hope you got something out of it. It's not too technical, but I try to keep these things simple because we're out there at the end of the day trying to catch fish. So do this, go through this. It's going to make you a better fisherman. You're going to have more fun on the water. You're going to get more fish to the boat. All right? Have a great day, guys. See you on the water. Take care.